Okay, she's going to love it. Okay, everybody, welcome to the broadcast. This is Donna, and can you tell us how to, and I'll point it at you.
Okay.
And you tell us how you pronounce your name?
Andrea Liedtke.
Okay, and can you tell our friends how you met or how we know each other now?
Because my granddaughter Amanda, who lives in Texas, you're a friend of hers. Donna is a friend of Amanda's, so now Donna's a friend of mine.
Yes, and we're having lovely tea and biscuits. I love it. It's so kind, and it is actually very yummy. I like the cream and sugar. I've never done that before, or milk and sugar. And what was I going to ask? Oh, I forget now. But okay, I'm looking for friends that we know. Hello, everyone. These are people that I do not know. What we were going to do is we were going to talk about marriage. And I understand that you're celebrating an anniversary. Even though he's gone, it's still something to celebrate. Yeah. I would love to know how you guys met.
We both knew a mutual friend, and one day this friend, who was a fireman, came in and said, Andrea, you look so sad. What's wrong? And I said, I just went through a divorce and I don't want to talk about it. And he said, my friend's just gone through a divorce and he's perfect for you. And I said, no, I don't want it. So Chuck called me out twice. First time said, how about going for a drive? And I said no, and I hung up on him.
Wow.
Called back 2 weeks later and I said, and this is very truthful, I said, I will go for a ride with you if you promise not to lay a hand on me. I said, don't expect sexual favors because it's not forthcoming. And we went and had an amazing date. We were out about 7 hours and we just went down. The most we did was hold hands, and that was it. And then the second date, I'm going to blow you away with this one. We actually set our wedding date.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
My parents actually were engaged after 3 weeks, and they were married in 6 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it just happens that way.
Mm-hmm.
He was just so perfect for me, and he said I was perfect for him, and I guess 37 years later it was perfect. You know?
Yes.
He's just a very kind person.
Oh,
So.
that's really cool, because I have to say, whenever I started dating my husband, I was only 16 years old. But man, we couldn't stop hanging out. We wanted to be together all the time.
That's where I was with Chuck, but I was in my 30s when I met Chuck. But he was just always laughing, always happy, always helping people. He was just one of those super nice people. But he was a fireman, so firemen are kind of that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
No.
Okay, so Amanda did say that you had mentioned that maybe you might have the top 3 things.
Yeah, well, one is to always respect each other.
Okay.
Don't assume. And I have a new one to add to the list now. Turn off your texts on your cell phone when you're with your husband.
Okay.
Because I know so many young couples now, Amanda included, that Darren walked in the door, or the children, and she's, and you're not, yes, you're in the same room as them, but you're not giving them your undivided attention. And I think for a good marriage to succeed, you have to give each other undivided attention. And you can't do that when you're texting. It's impossible. So that was one I just added because I see it constantly, and I want to tell the people, get off the damn phone. You know?
Yeah, I believe it, because when we're on I could see that, because when I'm at home, I'll let them see me too. Hello, I'm here too. Okay, let me turn around. When my husband gets home, I could be multitasking and trying to work and all the things. And then when we go on a date, if he's on his cell phone, I'm mad.
Yes. See?
So if it's his time when he comes home to connect with me and I'm on it, then I can see why it would be, offensive.
I mean, he walks in the door, and instead of rushing up and giving him a hug and a kiss, you're finishing a conversation with a friend. And which is more important, the conversation with the friend or your husband? You know, the husband should take priority. Your husband should always be number one over the children, over everyone. and you should be number one with him, because as you journey down the road, you journey like this. You're madly in love, you can't stay apart, and then as you have children, you go like this. And then after the children are grown up, you go like this, and you're back together. And if you haven't built a solid relationship, if you haven't always put them first, then the marriage breaks up, because there's nothing to feed it. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you've, you have to, like I always say, once a week or once every 2 weeks, you should have a date night. Even if you go and walk around the park and it doesn't cost any money, you should get a babysitter or get someone to look after your children, so it's just you and him. Because when your children are in the room, it's their conversation, it's not your conversation. And so I think that's really important too. I'm trying to think of some of the others I told Amanda.
Well, and when he comes home, and my little girls, they come rushing to meet him, and they squeeze him, and you can see he's so happy about it. And then I want to talk to him, and they're like, "Daddy, Daddy," blah, blah, blah. And I try to say, "No, Mommy talks first. Mommy gets to talk to Daddy first, and then you can talk to Daddy." And they still try to
Right.
But it's something I try to teach them, and he gets upset with me like I shouldn't tell them to stop. But I'm trying to teach my children that the marriage is first.
Yes.
And that shows them love.
You need to talk to your husband about that when the children are around, and say, we have to be a unit, strong. And maybe you have a hug and a kiss, and you sit down and talk for 2 minutes, and then you sit down with him, put your phones down, and let the kids climb all over him. And you're a unit as you and your children. You know? I mean, it's only the little ones. I'm sure the big ones don't want to sit on Daddy's lap anymore.
Nope, not anymore. It's kind of sad.
But yeah, it's just today the world is too busy, and marriages are failing because the world is too busy. Because the young mums are multitasking, and the dads are multitasking in their own way, and it's mostly business. But they're doing the same thing. So you have two people trying to make a marriage strong, multitasking, and they're not really listening to what their spouse is saying. And that's what you need to do. You need to get back onto that one-on-one. And I it's hard, and it takes work, but the payoff is amazing. So I don't know if it helps.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm thinking hard about it. And when you said you need to respect each other, one of the things that really bugs me is even TV commercials or like the sitcoms, that the husbands are always dumb.
Yes.
They're always put down.
Yes.
They're always mistreated, and they better do what the wife says.
Yes. And see,
it drives me crazy.
Well, commercials are about the worst thing, actually television in general, to make a marriage work, because they do paint all the husbands as dumb, and they act like Jack, and it's wrong. It's wrong. They don't show a loving family, and I don't know, I just get amazed. Like I just watched a commercial today, and a guy, his wife was having a baby, and she had another baby, and he went out to buy a car, and he come home with a hot rod kind of car, and she pointed to his tummy, and he said, "Oh, I guess this wasn't a good idea. I better take it back and change it." But the message is already out there then. And I looked at it and I thought, wow, these people are ruining marriages that make these commercials, because God made man perfect just like he made woman perfect.
Yes.
And the media is making man not perfect. And the more the media runs down the man, the more he tries hard by silly stuff sometimes to prove I am important. And it's very sad.
Well, and then the wives get mad because they don't have this amazing husband stepping up and leading, but they won't let him lead, and they're putting him down.
And see, and women going out into the work world and all this stuff, women are very dominant now. They don't let their husband be dominant anymore. It's like, I have to be the dominant one, and when I tell you to do something, I've even seen women doing this to their husband, and I think, I want to shake them. I want to say, be his little princess.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with being his princess. It makes for a good marriage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't have to not be strong to be his princess. You can
Right.
still be a strong woman. I mean, I've always considered, when I met Chuck and then when we got married, he said, okay, you're going to quit work now, huh? And I said, what? Quit work? I'm not quitting work. And he said, well, my ex-wife, when she went out to work, she started having affairs.
Oh.
And I said, well, if you don't trust me, then the marriage won't work.
Mm-hmm.
I said, you have to trust me. And after 6 months or so, he said, I was so silly to worry, but,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he saw negative connotations if the woman worked,
Mm-hmm.
and it shouldn't be that way. And we have the beautiful lifestyle we have today because we both worked.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, and you don't, like you said, you can be strong and a princess. Well, I think it takes the strongest kind of woman to be a princess for her
Yes.
husband, because
Yes.
that means she knows who she is.
That's right. And she shows her husband the soft side,
Mm-hmm.
but she's still something to be reckoned with in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's the perfect balance right there.
Yeah.
But it seems like more women today now forget to be the princess. They just want to be the dominant one.
Mm-hmm.
And you shouldn't have to be dominant with your husband. That's not what God created. He created you to be soft and loving and tender
Mm-hmm.
to your husband. And yes, you can be strong in the workplace, but you shouldn't be strong in the home.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be strong with the children, you know, I mean, it's discipline and stuff like that. Your job is to turn out children that are good citizens, not
Mhm.
pamper them,
Right.
you know, and it's a very tough world.
Yeah, I never had any idea that parenting would be like this.
Oh, you imagine they're going to be so good and you say, put your clothes away and they're going to do it, you know.
Or if you're an amazing parent, then they'll do what they're told, but it
Yes.
has nothing to do with you.
No, it's all about them,
Mhm.
especially the teenage years.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about them. They actually do not even hear you talk. The first time you say, pick up your jacket,
Mm-hmm.
it's not to you go, I said, pick up your jacket,
Mm-hmm.
and then they pick up the jacket. But it's not because they don't want to pick up the jacket, it's because they've tuned you out
Mm-hmm.
prior to that. So.
Well, and going back to the showing your husband the soft side, I remember for so many years my husband and I would fight I would yell and be angry because I had to show him I was upset because I didn't feel like I was being heard. So I'd get louder and more upset and angrier. And one day he said, if you would just cry, I could hear you better.
So see, he was trying to communicate with you then, but you shouldn't have to cry.
Yeah.
He should notice your soft side.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe when you go for a walk in the park, that's the time to talk about things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you can't talk about it when you've got children around.
Right.
It has to be when you're away from the children. And, you know, there's nice little things you can do, like pack a little picnic in the summer and just you and him go off and just have it. It may be just a soda and a sandwich. And you turn the phone off and it's just you and him. And that makes for a very good marriage. I will tell you, I never ever let anyone take over my time with Chuck. No one. That was my time. And that was his time. Yeah.
And so when you had 5 children at home, how did you do that?
Well, when he would walk in the door, because he worked unusual schedule. He was 24 hours on and 24 hours off. And so he would come home in the morning while I'd be at work then. And then when I got home in the evening, then we would talk to the kids and do that. And then I would just say, okay, you guys, you need to go into your bedroom just for 15 minutes. And Pops and I are going to have our time. And, you know, we would just talk about our day and stuff like that. And then I would serve dinner and they'd all come out and get around the table and we'd talk up a storm.
Okay.
Another good thing is to always sit around the dining room table.
Mm-hmm.
If you have kids sitting in front of the television and sitting at a bar, it doesn't work. You've got to be looking at them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To have a good family atmosphere. And that's broken up.
It is. And my husband, I know when he gets home, it's around 7:15 or so, and the little girls have to go to bed by 8. So when he gets home, it's such a rush to try to get everything done. And he's also trying to relax from such a long day.
Yeah.
And he just flips the TV on. So it's always in the background talking.
Yeah.
And I cannot concentrate. And it just adds to the mayhem.
Yeah, because there's enough noise from the children. And
Yes.
all this. Maybe you could talk to him. The solution would be to feed the children, the little ones, before he comes home.
Okay.
And then when he comes home, have 15 minutes with them and settle them down into bed. And then you and him can talk. I mean, you have two extremes. You have older children and you have younger children. So different rules would apply.
That's such a good idea.
Yeah.
I have never thought about feeding them first because I thought, oh, I thought if I feed the little kids something else, that's just another meal. But they really don't even eat what we eat, not very well,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, and you could do that before Daddy gets home. And then at the weekends, make a point of you all eating as a family.
Together.
But, yeah, I mean, I would feed them first. I used to feed mine first, I think, before he came home.
That is a good idea.
Yeah, and you can always, if you cook a meal each night, the night before, keep enough, once you start it, keep enough for their meal the next day. Just set it in the microwave or whatever. And then you've got their meal, like if it's spaghetti or something, you know, and feed them. And then that's one less part of the busyness.
Yes.
And, you know, and then you'd have to let him have his time with the children at that point. And then maybe you and him can both read him a story or so. I read my children stories every night in bed. I'm really an advocate for reading. And then you come out and you say, could we just sit and talk and maybe have a glass of wine? Would you mind if we turn the TV off so we can just talk about? And then you start it off with, how was your day? And it takes work, you know. It's not going to come easy because you haven't done it.
Yeah.
But you ask him how his day was, and you sympathize with him, and you have to lay on the charm to start with, and then you hope he will start doing it back to you too.
Right. Because that's true, because a lot of times it's like pulling teeth because he's tired.
Yes.
And he doesn't want to. He'd rather just sit and watch TV.
Yeah. But just, you know, just tell him you'd like to try something.
Amanda's on.
Is it? Hi, Amanda.
She said, we are here.
Yeah, I think when you start it, like turning off the television.
She said hi.
Hi. It's difficult, but you have to tell him first, would you mind if we sat and had a glass of wine together? Do you drink wine? Would you mind if we had a glass of wine together and we turn the TV off so we can enjoy each other? And then you are being the instigator of opening it up. And if he says, no, I don't want to, say, well, I would really like it. I would really like us to start a new tradition of where we have, and through all this, the cell phone has to be not working. The texting, neither one of you, and you have to explain that to him that you're going to try it. You're going to try not texting for 15 minutes and just enjoy each other. And, you know, you will find, I hope, that you will recapture what you had when you were younger. Because right now you've got too many stresses in your life. Yeah.
Well, that's partially why when I can, I come on those trips with him so that at night we can spend time alone together. Because we don't have a lot of that.
No, and you need it. You definitely need it because you've got two groups of children. You've got older children and younger children. And it's stressful. But you can hold it together. It just takes a little work.
Well, I can just see it. I can already see, like I see a lot down the line. I don't know if God just shows me things so that I know that it's just a season, but I know how quickly it feels like when the oldest leaves. And then the next one is just 2 years behind, and how it's so fast. So I try to stay in the moment, even though it's a tough moment. I try to remember it really is
because
fast.
It's just passing. And you look at me, I'm 74 now, and my children are all gone. You know, and even my grandchildren are all grown up now. Now I'm getting great grandchildren, but I think, where have the years gone? And if you don't capture the moment, and what you're working on is to get back with what you fell in love with all those years ago. And in order to do that, you have to have your time. You have to have time where it's just you and your husband, and no texting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's making little hearts, so I think she's getting the point. Amanda, do you have any questions for her that you want on Periscope? I'm getting tea, getting a sip. She said yes, no texting, and she's trying to figure out if she has any questions. But so I know that you said that you like to go to the ocean because it calms you. So and then you've gone to Africa and done things that you said you were surprised about.
Yes, and as much as I miss Chuck, the first year I wanted to die. I just wanted. If I hadn't been a Christian, I think I would have committed suicide the first year because the pain was so grave. But then I got Charlie, and she's a little dog and she's not Chuck, but she makes me laugh, and she's a cute little dog. But yeah, I mean, you want to have, everyone wants to have what Chuck and I had, because your youngest is 2.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time you're in your mid-50s, your children will be grown, pretty much. And that's still plenty of years to enjoy each other and travel and do stuff.
She said true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's such a small time frame in the big picture of the children. And this is, most moms more than dads get overwhelmed by the day-to-day stuff. But they grow up so quick. I mean, I look at Natalie, and she's 12 already, and I think, where have the years gone? And my eldest daughter's 55, and I think, where have the years gone? But they fly by. And I really want to stress that your husband comes first, because if he doesn't, then when the children leave, you're like, what do we do now? And that's when most marriages break up.
She said, how do you be equal and also be submissive? Where is the balance?
Well, being equal is, like I was saying to you about when he comes home, you say, I'd like to start a new thing. I'd like to strengthen our marriage. I would like the television to be off and us to sit and have a glass of wine when the little ones are put in bed. And the older ones can go to their rooms. I just want you and I to have time together. So that's being equal, because you're making yourself equal to his day, because you want to hear about his day. So then you're on an equal plane, and then you hope that he will ask you about your day, and your day, will be children. But there's still little things you can tell him about it that are milestones in the raising of children, and you hope that automatically puts you on an equal footing. It's not all about him, or it's not all about you. You're equal. And what was the other thing she wanted to tell?
Where's the balance between
Where's the balance? You have to make the balance. And this is why I said no texting, no phones, nothing, because in this modern day, the balance is gone. People are too busy. And that's why I think I'm a firm believer when the children come in from school, you shouldn't text. You should spend time with them so that they know that they are important to you. Because if you're texting them, you're sending a message to them that you're secondary. The person on the phone is my top priority. And that's not what you mean to be saying, but that's the message you're sending. And when your husband walks in the door, if you're texting, or whatever this is called, you're sending the same message, that you're not important enough for me to get off the phone and turn it off for a while.
She said, good advice.
Oh, good.
Well, and my struggle has always been that I've tried to be home with the children, but it required that I also work from home.
Yes.
And so I have really struggled with little ones and getting the work done. So usually, most of the time, probably 98% of the time, I still have work to do when the kids come home from school. And so they're almost without fail, they'll come in there and I'll have to work and I'll answer their question, or I'm flustered because I want to be done and I'm not done and you need to go out. And so I'm always sending them out.
Yeah. See, and when they first come home from school, set a timer if that's what it takes. 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm devoted to you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is our time with your children. And then after that, say, Mummy's got to work for a little while, but you have told your child that you're important.
Mm-hmm.
You're more important than Mummy's work right now. But when you've given them the 15 minutes, you say, well, maybe later on we can talk more, but right now Mama's got work to do, you know. But you have to make your family your top priority when they first come in the house. You can't just be in the kitchen washing, doing dishes, cooking dinner, and not come in and giving them a kiss and a hug, each one of them, because the message you're sending is they're not important enough.
Yeah.
And every child needs to feel important, and every husband needs to feel important. And then you hope that they'll treat you the same way.
Right.
I can't guarantee it with the kids.
Yeah, well, I think that's also what I'm learning about boundaries is telling my husband what I would prefer without demanding it.
Yes.
And then knowing that no matter what he does, I know what I'm going to do. So I guess that's what I mean, because before I would pressure and demand and fuss until I knew he was going to do it, you know, like my finger on him, you know.
Yes. And actually you're being his mother instead of being his wife.
Yes.
And that's not good.
Yeah, so it has to be a respectful request, and then you just pray to God he cares enough to do it.
And that's why, you know, if you want to put this into operation, like about having the television off and sitting with a glass of wine,
Mm-hmm.
you need to tell him when the children aren't around that you want to try something different.
Mm-hmm.
You want to try, and you promise him you won't talk on your cell phone
Mm-hmm.
for that 15 minutes, and you would appreciate it if he wouldn't talk on his cell phone, and that the television comes off and we concentrate on each other and get back to where we were when we were 18. And it's possible, it's doable, but you just have to change your priorities.
I'm so excited about 15 minutes because I've actually studied all sorts of different marriage programs, and a lot of them say, one of them I was so determined about it. I said, if you're not willing to do it, I'm going to divorce you, because I was told by the program that's what I should do.
That's wrong.
It is wrong. It was totally wrong. And whenever I was sitting there reading a book, God said, you're not being gracious. This program is not gracious.
And the whole thing of the program was to make a better marriage.
Yes. So me demanding it was the opposite.
And I told you, then you become mom. And
yes.
He turned mom off when he was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So then he turned you off.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you yell, scream louder and more. And it's the same with the children.
Mm-hmm.
Until they get your attention. You say,
mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
But 15 minutes is doable.
Oh, it is, because this program required 15 hours a week. Minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And if your marriage was in trouble, they required like 20 or 25 hours a week.
You can't do that.
Amanda, she said, that's me. But I would tell him, we have to do this. We're not going to make it. We're not going to make it. And so it was time we didn't have.
Yes.
But 15 minutes I have.
Yes, because once you've said hello to your children when they come home from school, and then once you've spent time with the little ones and they go to bed, you can fit 15 minutes in.
Mm-hmm.
The dishes can sit in the sink for 15 minutes. The television, he's not going to miss out on an evening of television for 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing major is going to happen on the cell phone for 15 minutes. So you're devoting that time, and that's when you pour wine and you bring it in and sit and say, this is going to be... And to start with, you won't know what to say to each other
Mm-hmm.
because you haven't done it. You haven't talked like two dating people. You've only talked as husband and wife and father and mother.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to get back to the dating. You have to get back like it's a date. And
About his heart.
yes.
And not,
Yeah.
I need this done, or...
Yeah, no, you can't put anything about do this or I need this. It's because when you first met your husband, you didn't ask him to do stuff and tell him stuff. You just said, I think you're wonderful and all this stuff. And that's what you need to get back to.
Yeah, because he really needs it. I mean, sometimes it's so funny, he'll be like looking at himself in the mirror and he'll be flexing and he'll say, am I hot? Am I good looking?
See, and that's when you go up behind him and put your arms
Mm-hmm.
up
Mm-hmm.
and say, I think you're really hot.
Mm-hmm.
Men need it
Men, she said men need it at the exact same time you said it.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really need
He
it.
asks that question a lot without asking it. Like, I know that he's saying, am I enough? You know, are you pleased with me?
And, you know, don't wait for him to say anything. Just when he's primping a little bit in front of the mirror, just go up and wrap your arms around him.
She said, Grandma taught me that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Chuck and I, she'll tell you, we hugged and kissed all day long. The longest we probably went without kissing was 15 minutes. I mean, it was just that kind of a marriage. But the kids were used to us doing that. We were playful. You know, we were always...
And more, she said. More than, I guess, more than kissing.
Yes. But we did silly things. And this is what I want you young people to do, because we were your ages when we did this. Like, I would make the bed and he would go and jump on it and mess it up. And so we would end up, and then I would jump on top of him and we'd end up laughing, and then sometimes Scott would end up on top of us, the youngest one. And that's what you want. You want playfulness in your marriage. You don't want it to be all serious.
Yeah, my husband says you're no fun.
Yeah, and he's trying to tell you, where's that girl I met all those years ago? So what you have to do is work on the playfulness, you know. I remember one day, this is such a silly story, but Chuck was taking a shower in the bathroom, and so I got a spray gun, and I'm spraying him. He's in the shower, and I'm spraying him, so he starts flicking water while I'm not in the shower. In the end, there was pools of water, everything in the bathroom. We ended up laughing for 15 minutes. Yeah, I had to clean it up afterwards, but it was fun. You know?
Yes.
And that's what you got to put back in your marriage. I don't recommend doing that, though. You be in the shower if that happens. Yeah. And you have to teach your kids to be playful too. And then they'll know. If they just see mum and dad being serious all the time, that isn't what a marriage is all about.
Okay.
You've got to keep that playfulness. And it's a lot of work. Because, you know, finances feed into it, meetings, events with the kids and all this, but you have to make the husband number one priority. Doesn't matter with all the other stuff. And Amanda will tell you, Chuck and I made each other priority all the time. And they knew it. All the grandkids saw it. The kids saw it. It was very obvious.
We saw Graham and Grandpa play all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, you know, that's the only advice I can really give you. That's my lot. That's
amazing. It's wonderful. And they slept naked.
We did.
That's great.
I wear pajamas now, Amanda. We always did.
Okay, well, I'm going to end the scope, and I love you, Amanda, and I was really glad to connect with you today. There I am. Woo, that's close. But I'm really glad that you thought that I deserved to meet your grandma. So thank you for that. And I will talk to you later. Bye-bye. See if I can get it to turn off.